Good morning and welcome to Planning with Purpose. Today we're going to talk about becoming a good steward of time, schedules, life, and everything in between. My name is Nikki, and many of you know me. Those who don't, I run the Kindled Place Co-op here in Fredericksburg, and we had this live last week, and today, as promised, I'm recording it for those who weren't able to come. And hopefully, even though you weren't able to be part of this conversation, I hope you share this with somebody so that you can have a conversation about time, purpose, the goals that you want to set, and what you want to accomplish, because it is very helpful to have some accountability when it comes to time management, because we all need it. We all need encouragement. We all need reminded. And I am not just speaking at you. Teaching this last week really has helped get me back into the things that I know I should be doing after I just had a baby 4 months ago, not just as 4 months ago, but my life has been just all over the place. And so this was a very helpful refresher and hopefully it will encourage you as well. So our workshop goal today is to improve the way we view and use time. A lot of us think that time is this abstract thing, which it is, but we don't really treat it the way it should be treated. And we have become, or I'll just speak for myself, I've become a slave to time versus me mastering it and knowing that I have been able to master it before. And so today we're going to change the way we view it. We're going to change our lens and we're going to change our vision so that the things that we plan for our lives every day, now, short term, long term, are going to be planned with purpose. So, so before we begin, I'm going to talk quickly about why I feel qualified to teach you today. And it's because I struggled with time for a long time. I struggled with managing my home, managing my children, supporting my husband in the basics of like laundry and his uniforms and all these things. It was because I was prioritizing things outside the home. And why I was doing that, I finally realized was because of this desire and need to prove myself to the world that I wasn't just a stay-at-home mom and that I could do more than just cleaning up the laundry or the bathrooms or raising my kids. When in actuality, that is the ministry that God has given me, and that should be my first and foremost priority. And if I cannot accomplish those things, then I shouldn't be adding to my plate. And really, that going to grad school, getting burnt out, all these things, these big red flags that were popping up, pushed me to really study the way I use time, but also time hacks and wisdom from other people and how to change the narrative in my mind so that I was prioritizing the things that needed to be prioritized and going back to scripture. That was a really big thing for me, was going back to God's word and one, understanding my role as a mom, where my worth lies, and it's not in the world, it's in him, and that he is the one that I should be pleasing. And so it was pride that was the root of my downfall, demise, my story of time and struggle there. And so hopefully that can give you a little bit of reflection or give you an opportunity to reflect on why you're where you're at today with your time management struggle. And moving forward, think about why you're struggling and moving forward, what you're going to do to change that. Let's change the path that we've paved right now to a different path of purpose and honoring God with what we're doing. So here's our dilemma. I'm going to say our because you're watching this, assuming that you've struggled and or struggling like me um, with time. So here's our dilemma. Our dilemma is that we feel like we don't have enough time to accomplish tasks. We are behind on to-dos and schedules. We have this imbalanced work life. We're constantly maybe thinking, I just don't have time to work out. Oh, I don't have time to make good meals, and that's why we're on the go. There's just this imbalance of priorities. We have low quality of work. So even though we are caring for the home, the house is still a mess. It's still filthy. It's only surface level clean. Or when we're doing homeschooling, there's so many distractions. So you are getting math and language arts done, but it's not where it needs to be. and an increased stress of anxiety. That is where our body manifests and says, hey, you're struggling, and now you're constantly on edge, and you're relying way too much on that coffee or tea. For me, like me, tea, but I drink herbal. So here are the reasons we struggle. We procrastinate. Maybe there's poor or no planning. I think no planning is where most people are at. There's constant interruption and distractions because there's no routine in the home, maybe. There's no expectations for the kids to help participate. And so there's constant distractions, or let's not blame the kids, let's blame ourselves. We have our phones in front of us at all times, and so we're constantly distracted. Multitasking. We think we can multitask, but in reality, our brain can really only focus on one task at a time. Now, you can do multiple things at a time, like listen to music and clean, but we're going to talk about batching and the importance of putting things together to save you time so you're actually really focused at the task at hand. But you'll see how batching can work miracles on finishing multiple projects at once. So you feel like you're multitasking, but it's only because if the theme or the genre of the task you're doing is the same. So technically, you're not multitasking. Lack of goals, systems, and habits. This is where I was. There was no routine, there was no system of things being in the right places or having a place. My habits were bad. It was like instead of grabbing a book or sitting down to actually rest, I was looking on my phone, and then I'd go down rabbit holes. So, lack of goals, systems, and habits. And we'll be talking about uh, some new systems that hopefully will help you reshape the way you run your home and your time. But finally, overall, the umbrella word for all of this is undisciplined. We are just undisciplined, unfortunately, but that's okay. We have the opportunity to change that, and that's why you're here today to have this conversation with me. This is where you're probably at right now. This is where your mind might be, your heart, even maybe your body. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm just so stressed. Hopefully, after this conversation, you'll get from here to here. It's not a perfect circle because you're not going to manage your time perfectly, but you're at least going to start implementing better habits, using new tools so that you have a hold of your life in a more purposeful, functional way. So, here are the modules that we're going to go through in this workshop. Number one, the framework. We're going to go back to scripture and see what it says about stewardship. Number two, we're going to go over time buckets. So, what are time buckets? We're going to talk about, do we know where our time is being invested in? The third module is we're going to start shifting the way we perceive time, use time with these time principles that I've learned from other wise and knowledgeable people trying to also be productive in their lives. And then finally, I'm going to give you some tools that, very basic tools that you can begin to use today and hopefully take hold of and start your journey on managing your time well. All right, so let's get some biblical guidance. A very popular story on stewardship that most people know about, including non-Christians, is Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 to 30. And I'm not going to read it all, but the story is you have a gentleman who has property or talents, and he instructs three of his servants to manage them. Two of them manage it really well. And he says in verse 23, his master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. But the third servant, out of the three, only one didn't do anything with it. Instead, he says, um, Master, I knew you to be a hard man. This is verse 24. Reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, have what is yours. But his master answered him, you wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers. And at my coming, I should have received what was my own interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has the 10 talents, and so forth. And so there, the third servant was so scared and had a skewed perspective of his master, and was so fearful and slothful, apparently, and indifferent that he just decides, I'm just going to bury this. I'm not even going to try. And and there are so many lessons in this passage that we can extract from. And I encourage you to read the whole thing for yourself. But for time purpose, I'm going to just give you some of the principles that I was able to extract from here. So, number one, God owns everything in this world, everything that we own, the children that we have, the opportunities that arise. He controls everything, and we need to have that in the back of our mind and remember that he is Elohim. He is our creator, and if we recognize that, hopefully we should be a little bit more intentional about how we're using the things he's given us, how we're raising our children. So he owns everything. Number two, from the story, we see that God gives stewardship with some of his creation to us. So you see in the story, he gives a different number of talents for each servant. And it's the same with us. We have to be very careful not to compare and also not to feel like we have to take care of everything around us. It's what is he taking care of us right now? So right now he's given me a home to steward, 7 children to take care of. I also have a community of moms that I invest in. So those are the things that I need to be focusing on and really learning to manage so that because that's what's in front of me. That's the ministry that's in front of me right now. And there's all these other worries or projects, whether it's in the military or in the local community, that I could definitely be involved in. But right now, this is what he's given me to steward. And finally, in this story, God will hold us accountable for how we use his resources. So, how are you managing the things that he's given you? Finances. When think of the story, a lot of the time the story is used for finances. How do you manage your money? But it's also time, relationships, opportunities, our stuff, all these things. God will hold us accountable for how we use them. And then the crazy thing is that we will reap the consequences here on earth. And it's happening now, at least for me, or uh, last week I finally got a hold of everything. But because I've been lazy in certain things, things have built up, and so we will reap the consequences pretty sooner than later. And but ultimately, we will be hold us accountable when we get to heaven, and ask us, "Hey, what have you done with the things I've given you? What have you done with the gospel message? What have you done with the skills and passions I've given you?" And so, hopefully, um, when you read this and spend time with it, you will wrestle with these ideas and um, learn from these principles and begin to change the way you view the things that is in front of you. Because a lot of the time, we have such a tight grip on these things, not recognizing that it's not our own. This is God's. And how am I using the person He's created me to manage the things he's given me. So it has definitely changed the way I manage my time. And this is the starting point. This is the foundation before we can move forward to add all these tools and habits and principles. We have to go back to why are we doing these things? Who are we doing it for? And ultimately, man's primary purpose is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And we can only glorify Him if we are doing the things that He has asked us to do. And thing, that main thing is to be a good steward of our lives and promote Jesus. But that main thing right now we're talking about is being good stewards of the lives He's given us. So, why be good stewards? Uh, I just said it. Man's primary purpose is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever, according to 1 Corinthians 10:31, and that's from the Westminster Shorter Catechism, question 1. Number 2, it is an act of worship that honors God. So when we care for our homes, when we manage our time well, when using money and not wasting the things that we have or reusing things, that is an act of worship. Everything that we do and say and think is an act of worship that either honors God or dishonors God. And a third reason we want to be a good steward is that we want to model good stewardship to our children. How are they going to be able to run their lives well if they grew up in a home environment where everything was chaotic, mom was always yelling as we were getting out of the house? How are they going to be able to run their homes well? And so we have a responsibility to teach and model these things to our children. All right, so now that we have the framework, we know the why, the motivation, let's actually talk about time. Let's talk about our lives. But first, we have to understand what is time. And I was trying to figure out when I first created this workshop what good visual to use, and the water. Water came to mind because I was near the ocean. I lived in Okinawa at the time, and water was the perfect use because you can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it. And that's the thing. Time is not, it's abstract, the concept is, but it can be used. And that's, I'm going to talk about three things about time that maybe will change the way you use your time. Number one, time is a commodity, but unlike money, everyone is given the same exact of time daily: 24 hours, 1,444 minutes, 86,400 seconds. So God hasn't given anyone more or less. That's what we have every day. So the difference between people is really how much time they have. It's how much they've stewarded. We know that. And uh, so time is a commodity. Number two, time is finite, just like water in a bucket. Once you use it up, it's used up. And that day you can't come back to that day. You have a new day though, but you can't go back and try to reset what you did the day before. Just like, unlike money that can be earned back, time is the one earthly resource that we can never recover back. But we can change the way we use our time the following day. And then finally, time is invested. So time is a commodity, time is finite, and time is invested. One of the greatest myths is that we can spend time, but we don't just simply spend it, we're investing it. So the way I'm investing my time in my marriage, my children, my home, with my relationship with Christ is going to impact what's going to happen 5, 10, 20 years down the line. If I don't invest time in my children, I can only imagine the type of relationship we're going to have 20 years down the road. If I don't invest time in my health, I can only imagine the type of fitness level I'm in and the hardship I might be because I didn't take care of my health early on. And so time is always being invested, or whether you are aware of where you're putting your time in, it is always being invested in something, and it could be bad things and not good things. And so we are going to take hold of our time and our water pitcher that represents time. And so here's a really fun task or activity that I did. I didn't know where my time was going at the time. I had multiple projects. Or let me set the context. My husband was in a position in Okinawa, and he's a Marine, and I was helping support the unit, and then I was also running other projects on the side. I was also homeschooling at the time, and I had 5 kids. I was becoming overwhelmed because I thought, Lord, there are so many things in front of me that seem to be pressing. How am I going to manage all this? And so I wrote out every single thing I was involved with, including the different areas of my home I needed to take care of. And that's where time buckets come to play. It represents an area of your life. And so, for example, here are 3 areas of my life. This is the ideal. This is where I would love my water pitcher be, or my giant water pitcher to be filling in. So but these are buckets, big buckets. And so imagine my water pitcher being very big. And so here are 3 different areas of my life: family connection, social media, and God. I put social media in there because it's just part of our lives. And whether I invest in it or not is going to be up to me. But ideally, if I had a giant jug of water, a lot of my time is going to be poured into my time with God, whether that's spending time in the Word, through prayer. Hopefully, that's what it looks like. Family connection should also be pretty high, if not half the bucket. I know I have a lot of other responsibilities, but family connections meaning time I spend with my children, not just physically, but am I taking the time to have a conversation with them, sitting down to read a book with my son, or talking about a project over tea? Am I connecting with my children? And ideally, I'm investing a lot of time in that. And then my social media, because I do use it for our co-op and managing different things and emails, that it is very minimal. So social media doesn't just mean Facebook, Instagram, but it represents all of that, all the socials. And hopefully I'm managing it well so that it only takes up a little bit of my water pitcher. That's the ideal, right? But sadly, sometimes this is the reality. Sometimes social media gets all of my attention. Sometimes my family connections, because I'm physically there, I'm kind of getting it in, but it's not very meaningful. And then God gets the last of my energies. And it could be sometime in the past, I've had it where my my framework and my lens have been so focused on the busyness that maybe he gets one nice prayer at dinner time, but he doesn't have my heart or my mind, or even he's not the scripture is not the lens that I'm looking through the world. Um, and so he gets the last of what I have. So that's the reality. So time is being invested in some way, and we don't want this. You don't want this for yourself. I really, this is a good reminding verse for us on from Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 to 16. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. And the days are evil part, I think it just means like there are just a lot of distractions in this world. And from beginning of time, so many distractions that really take us away from fulfilling God's purpose for us on this earth. And it begins with, do you know where your time and effort and attention is going, or are going? I'm sorry, that's a typo. But do you know? And I didn't. And so it was helpful for me to write everything out. But before I showcase or give you an image of the different areas in my life, let's talk about the dimensions of wellness. And in the military world, this is called total force fitness. But these are just the different areas of our lives that we should be nurturing, we should be investing in, because this is who we are. We are physical beings, we're emotional, we are occupational beings, we have an intellect, we have a social aspect, we have finances, there's a spiritual, well, I would say the spiritual component is the whole thing if you're looking from, but anyways, but I hope you understand what I mean. Like we are multifaceted beings, and in order for us to uh, feel balanced or feel well, we have to be nurturing all these areas. And so, what does that look like? It could be that if you're a gym junkie, all of your time and effort is on your physical fitness, and it's a red flag if then you start to feel disconnected from your children. Well, maybe it's because you spent most of your time watching all the fitness videos and taking care of your image versus spending the time with the children. Or finances, I'm spending most of my time worried about money and not going into prayer first, and so all my time is focused on and listening to all these videos on how to save money and looking at my stocks, and instead of taking a step back and trusting in the Lord with providing for you and trusting that you're managing your money well. And so the purpose of this is to showcase to you that we have to be balanced in order to function well. We should be nurturing all these areas, but they need to be put in their proper place, and we need to be prioritizing the right things. But it is important that we're managing all these areas. So I just wanted to throw this in there for you to be aware of as we move forward and talk about our life buckets, because you don't want to not take care of your health. You don't want to not take care of your home environmental because you're so focused on these, specific one or two Z things. Like we need to be investing time in all these different areas. All right, so this is how I developed my time bucket spreadsheet, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. But I wrote out columns, and then I wrote out headings for each of these columns. So these are the different areas of my life. And then within these columns, I added buckets. And this is not a full picture. I had like a bigger piece of paper with more buckets. But over time, I also got rid of the things that I just couldn't, it could not fit in season. And so I developed this when I was in Okinawa with children and supporting my husband with his unit. And so I needed to see where my time was going to be spent in that season. So for me, these are important to me and things that I wanted to invest my time in. So, Christian biblical devotion, health and fitness, and so I can't say and mind and education. So, continuing to grow my skill as an educator for my children, but also the things that I was involved with workshops and all that stuff. So for family, for that area, I have a lot of buckets because I have a lot of children and a husband. And so each of them get a bucket, and I need to make sure I'm investing time with each of them. And then I also have extended family there because we have parents, we have brothers and sisters, we have cousins that, we need to also be investing time in. And so those are the different areas, different. My priority is my family, so that's why I put them. They each got their own bucket because I need to make sure I am taking care of the people God has given me to raise. And then my home and work, because I don't have a career, but I uh, do work in the home. Homeschool is a big priority of mine. That's my main job. House chores, medical appointments, and meals. Meals has been one that I've really had to work on because I was just not very good at meal prepping, and with a lot of kids, there's a lot of food that's being consumed, and so these were the different areas I knew I needed to get control over. So house chores specifically, and managing the different zones in our homes, and so now having this all written out gave me more clarity on what areas that I needed to invest time in. And then the community. And so here are the different communities that I have: church, friends, military spouses, Josh's military unit, homeschool co-op, our neighborhood, hosting at home, and then I have this workshop falls under what I call Coram Deo Life Projects. And so this is my my own little ministry to the world and gift. So I create these fun workshops and host events, and so that's a big part um, of my community. So you see, these are all the different areas, and these are not even just these are like this is the bucket. So you have the the heading, and then you have the buckets, but within those buckets you have cups. So imagine cups. So for example, under house chores, you have the bathroom, you have the living room, you have the dining room, you have the bedrooms, you have the laundry. And so within these buckets, it is helpful to see, okay, what what uh, what areas fall under that, because you want to know exactly where your time is going. So it's helpful to be very specific. Under church, what does church look like? Are you involved with ministry? Do you women's ministry? Do you volunteer for uh, childcare? Be very specific, because you may not real. This will hopefully show you that maybe you have too many things within community, or maybe in your homework category, you're not doing very well with meals because your kitchen is always in disarray, or it's so be very specific with where your time is going in these areas. And it's going to look different for everybody, but hopefully this gives you a better clarity on where your time is going and really how you want to invest it. Because this was way fuller when I originally created it. I had all these other extra things, and I realized I just don't have time for that in this season. And so, toss the bucket out the window for that season, set it aside, because this is what was pressing. Actually, this is what's pressing now for me in my season. The only thing that you're looking at that the military spouse component, I don't really do much in that for this season just because of Josh's current unit. And so I've been able to invest more of my time in our homeschool co-op um, and these Coram Deo Life projects. So here are some red flags uh, that you should be aware of uh, to hopefully remind you that maybe I'm misusing my time. You are procrastinating on tasks. You make a list, but you don't follow through with it. So maybe that's a red flag right there, because then you see your list growing and you come back the next year and like, oh, I had these 10 things. Why didn't it get done? So maybe from that moment and the time you started writing the list, maybe there was some procrastination going on there. So red flag that you're misusing your time. Another red flag that you're misusing your time is you're constantly rushing. You're running at the door, you're forgetting something, and this is me. This is true story. I don't know where my key is because I didn't put it back in its place because I have a key drawer, but I don't put it in there. Um, my kid's bag is not in the car, so I have to go back and try to find it. I'm not sure where it is. Oh, I didn't have diapers ready, and so we're just running amok and we're constantly rushing, and there's yelling involved and screaming. So that is a red flag that maybe you're misusing your time and not preparing. Next, you have a disorganized workspace and home. That should be a big red flag because if you are using your time well, you should be able to live in a home that is organized and, or at least can be easily picked up. And if it's constantly disorganized, and I'm speaking to myself because my homeschool room has been disorganized for the last 3 months, there's something wrong there. And so managing, prioritizing your home is very important. So that should be a red flag if your home is in disarray. Another red flag is that you are reactive versus proactive. So what does that mean? So when you are running out the door and your child cannot find his shoes, you're yelling at them because they can't find their shoes. There's no socks in the bin, and everyone's crying, and it's worse than it was 2 minutes ago before you started yelling. Versus you've already prepared the sock bin, you've already prepared the shoes. They just haven't had the time, they just couldn't see it. And so, but they're now frustrated, but because you've already prepared everything, even though they're frustrated in that moment, you're not rushing because you've already prepared ahead for everything else. You can take a moment, calm them down, help them put their shoes on, and hold hands and skip to the car. So that's being proactive. So reactive, you're just responding out of emotion when, especially when a situation is just a disruption happens and you're just upset. Versus a disruption happens, you are calm, you are collected, you can um, respond accordingly to the situation with the right tone and the right attitude so that the situation doesn't escalate. And so you are not. So that's the biggest difference is you're not being led by your emotions. You're being thoughtful in your response to whatever situation arises. Another red flag is a daily feeling of overwhelmed stress and anxiety. If you wake up in the morning and you realize, and the first thing you're already thinking about is your planner and your to do, something's not right there. You've maybe added too much on your plate, or you just didn't prepare well enough the day before, and so, and this has just been a cycle. And so a red flag that you're misusing time is that you have this constant feeling of pressure and stress of getting things done, or already feeling dejected, feeling like I'm not going to get all this done. And then some that ties into the reactive versus proactive. You're getting increased negative responses to family members, and then vice versa. Everyone seems cranky. Everyone doesn't seem to be happy. You're constantly bickering with or fighting with your children, or maybe even your husband. And so all these emotions are just circulating out of control. And that could be a red flag that you're just not managing your time or your priorities well. So I point out these things because these are the things that I struggle with, and it was really great teaching last week because um, I I was able a lot of these things were happening, and then I had to really stop and pause and gather myself, like collect my thoughts and be like, okay, I need to change this habit right now, or I need to change the trajectory of what's about to happen right now. So this is really helpful because we're not going to get we're not going to manage our time perfect, but we know that what if any of these situations happen, any of these red flags, you can stop and reset yourself because now you know. Now you know the red flags. Now that we've talked about the foundation and the framework, and now we know everything that we have that God has given us to manage, the lens that we should be looking through, and hopefully you'll remember this visual because it's a giant pair of sunglasses. The lens that we should be looking through as we're looking at our spouses, our children, our tasks, everything that we do should be to glorify God and honor Him. Because if that is the motivation, then you are going to be equipped with wisdom. You're going to be motivated with not a selfish attitude, not a prideful stance. It's going to be in humility and in response to making sure that the thing that He is giving you right now, that you're stewarding well, because you want to honor Him. And He equips us. That's a really wonderful thing about our God, is that He equips us to be able to do His work. But we have to make sure that, going back to the principles we talked about, that we recognize He owns everything. He gives us these things to steward, and He will hold us accountable. And so this should be the lens that we should be looking through when we are creating our schedules, when we add things on our plate. Is this going to honor God? The way I'm investing my time in these areas, is it honoring Him? Henry David Thoreau says, "It is not enough to be busy. So are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about?" And that's why that this assignment is going to be very helpful, so that you can figure out what are your time buckets. So this is my assignment for you. Figure out, what are your time buckets? Where is your time going? How much are you pouring into them? And finally, maybe create a time journal. So, what is that? I had a friend who really was struggling to figure out where her time is going. She was like, "I don't think it's social media because I'm not on my phone." And so I had her evaluate what she was doing. So I don't recommend writing everything down as soon as you do it, but maybe do a afternoon or evening reflection time and just write down what were kind of the general things that happened throughout the day. And maybe you'll find a pattern. And so the same friend realized, as she documented her days, that her kids were constantly asking her questions. And it was just about, and it wasn't about like, "Oh, mom, tell me how the flowers doing," but it was like, "What are we going to do today? What are we going to eat?" She realized she lacked routine in her home. And so her kids didn't know what to expect. And so there was a million unending questions because they just didn't know what to do, or when, whether or not it was okay. And so that was a great aha moment for her, because now she could she found the solution to help her be more efficient and working in the home. But it started with making sure her kids knew the expectation, knew the routines. And so this time journal is really neat. And you can even write out like, "Oh, just reflecting on things that you were able to accomplish," or maybe, "Oh, I spent 20 minutes on the phone talking to my friend, and then three friends." That happens to me sometimes. Um, and so this is your assignment. If you don't know where your time is going, please take the time to write it all out, look at it on paper, get it out of your head, so that you can begin to find a solution to fix any problems and tweak your schedule, tweak your mindset, and be more purposeful in your planning. Now we know where our time is going and how we want to use it, some red flags. We can move forward and start talking about some time principles. But before we move forward, let's look at our 24 hours and really see how much time do we really have. So, first of all, we can already get rid of 8 hours because we need to sleep. I mean, some people say they need 6, some people, it's different for everybody, but ultimately the average is 8 hours to really recover, or for our bodies to recover, and for our minds to rest. We need 8 hours. So already you only have 16 hours left. And then, so I'm going to now share with you my ideal schedule if I could wake up at a decent time and go to bed at a decent time. So now I know I have 8 hours in my schedule that's gone and set aside for sleep. Now I have 3 hours in the morning where I want to knock out my quiet time. That's reading my Bible, journaling, uh, working out, showering, prepping for the day, as in looking at my planner, making sure that I have all the things that I need, and then breakfast. So I allocate about 3 hours. Or is that 3 hours? 2 hours? Oh, from 5 to 8. So 5 to 8. And so that's my window for myself generally, but now that's it. That's where I've allocated that time for that space. Next, 8 o'clock, prep. My kids are generally up by 7, and so we're prepping. They're doing their morning responsibilities. We'll do breakfast, and then we'll start morning lessons. Sometimes we work out, and then lunch. So that morning from about 8 to 12 is where we try to get all this stuff done. Is that 5 hours? Eight, nine, 10. This is 5 hours. Maybe no, to one. So I'm sorry, from 8 to 1 because from 12 to 1 we do our lunch and read aloud. So that's 5 hours already just doing these specific things. And so how much time do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 hours left in our day before bedtime. So let's see how I'm going to manage this. All right, afternoon. We have afternoon lessons because I have 7 kids and I have older kids now. I also use that time to correct any work. So we still have some afternoon lessons that we need to accomplish. And then there's also chores. The house generally stays uh, clean even when we homeschool, but we still have to pick up. And so that takes about 1 to 2 hours. And then normally we start our dinner prep around 3 to 4 because we like to have dinner around 5:30. And so that's where the afternoon goes. And now we're gonna enter my evening. Shower, stories, bedtime, connect with my husband a little bit, and then lights out 9 o'clock if I if I want to be wake up at 5 o'clock. So that's where my time went. It's amazing. How is there any time to create videos like this for you all, or do workshops, or play with friends? Well, of course, like this is not every day. We have appointments that happen, but as you can see, it's amazing how our time quickly gets allocated and invested, or not invested in, right? Or right, like that one day we had no play dates. I didn't do anything with any outside projects. It was strictly just our home and our lessons and the children. And and that that's wild to me to see that. And so I want you to be able to look at your own schedule and say, where are my 24 hours going? We have all the same amount of time. Where is that going? You know you need 8 hours sleep. You know that you need to work out at some point, or if you live on a farm and that's considered your workout, fine, great. But where is that time where you can sit and rest and have a chat with your husband? Um, and so this is why this time management workshop has been so helpful for me and many others, is because we need to know where our time is going, those time buckets. That's really important so that we can allocate the time that God has given us in this one day. And so now that you know where your time is going, now you know where you want it to go, let's talk about some principles so that you can manage and invest your time better, because there's things that I had to learn and experience, and new habits that others have already implemented in their own lives that I had to learn and implement myself to be better. Because in order for us to function well at home and be able to even manage your home, there's a lot of underlying layers. And we're going to talk about that in the time management principles. Someone said this, and I really like it. Productivity is not about having more time, it's about making more use of the time that you have. Because we're not going to have more than 24 hours in a day, but uh, we get to pick how we're going to want to use the 24 hours in a day. So let's talk about time management principles that have been really helpful for me. All right, number one, prioritize and minimize less but better. So that's from Greg McKeown from his book Essentialism, which I highly, highly recommend, and I'll bring it up again later. But here is an example. So here's my to-do list let's just say it's for the day. This is what I would like to get done, but realistically, I can get all 6 things done. And that star represents a dinner party that's really important. So that's high on my to-do list. And so what am I going to do? Am I going to be able to do all these things? No, I need to cross out things that really that aren't a priority, as well as don't satisfy my goal for the evening, and that's a dinner party. And so I'm going to cross out some of these things. I can wash the bed sheets at a different time unless somebody, soiled it, then throw in the wash. But at the same time, I don't need to wash every single person's bed. So I have a lot of beds. I don't need to go to the garden store for flowers. That's just really unnecessary. Let me just cut some branches from outside, or even cut the hydrangeas I have outside right now, and use that for the dinner party. Um, I have a really close friend. Her name is Candace, and I love meeting with her. And I told her I wanted to play, maybe sneak in a play date today, but it's just can't happen because I still need to go to the grocery store and have my bathrooms clean and clean my bathrooms because I have guests coming. And so I'll just have to reschedule that, and she'll understand. And she does. She only lives like 15 minutes away anyway. So that's how you prioritize and minimize, less but better. And so sometimes we think quantity, when we accomplish all these tasks, like a million tasks in a day, we're accomplished. But sometimes normally that's to the detriment of something else, whether it's or fitness, because I want to prioritize shopping and play dates and all these things. My back's been hurting for a while. I should be spending time and working out, but I'm not. And so we need to begin to look at our to-do list and really prioritize what needs to happen right now, or what can I put on the back burner and do later. That way, if you do have extra time, let's say you were able to clean and prep the house in an efficient manner, then you could probably go to the garden store or meet with Candace. But at the same time, but only doing those things because you've accomplished the priorities, the important tasks first. So prioritize and minimize. That's one of my favorite time management principles because I have a long to-do list all the time. And that's the thing. This is another reality. There will always be to-do lists. There will always be tasks. But there's not always going to be that moment, these moments where and this is another, and I didn't put it in as a time management principle, but this is just the reality. We're always going to have to-do lists, but let's learn to manage our to-do list well, what we have right now. All those other things will get done eventually, and that's okay. And we have to be okay with that. I've had to learn to be okay with that. It's on a list for a reason, and it will get done. And if it's not pressing, if it's not life-threatening or something, then be okay with saying, I'll just have to do this later. Another time management principle is called batching versus multitasking. So imagine if I were to try to do this in this order that it's written out in one day. I'm going to get the kids in the car, go to the garden store, pick up flowers, then I'm going to run to the grocery store, and then, oh, so another time management principle is batching versus multitasking. And so let's look at our to-do list. Let's see if I tell me how what you feel when I if I do this in this specific order. All right, I wake up, go to the morning. Instead of starting my day with maybe doing chores, I'm going to jump in the car already, run to the garden store, pick up flowers, then come back home, drop off the flowers, start cleaning bathrooms, and then get back in the car, go to the grocery store, and then come back home, put all the groceries away, and then try to prep for tonight's dinner, set the table. But then, oh, I want to go and meet and have a play date with Candace. So get the kids back in the car and go meet with Candace, come back home, and then I'm going to start washing the bed sheets because it just is bothering me. And then 5 o'clock, guests come and dinner is not ready. That's so overwhelming. And so batching, what batching is you're doing tasks that are similar. So instead of me getting in the car, starting chores, doing this thing, I can batch these these activities together. So, and they've specifically been listed so that you can visually see. So if I were to run to the garden store, it would make like so much sense if I also go to the grocery store right after because I'm already outside and I'm not putting my kids back in the car. Um, Instead of trying to maybe run to the store, clean up, run to the store, clean up. Maybe I just spend the morning before I run out the store doing my laundry first, throwing the sheets in the wash, starting to clean the bathroom, and in between, putting stuff in the dryer so it can continue going. And I just focus on chores. So my mind's not running a million different directions because right now it's just focused on getting my house clean. And then finally, another great matching method is I want to meet with Candace today. I have a play date with her, but instead, I would love to meet her today. Maybe I invite her to the dinner party. So, yay, I get to see Candace and I don't have to go to her house. She's going to be able to come to me. Our kids get to play, our husbands get to meet each other. And so I'm able to accomplish just two things in one. It's throwing those two birds, at one stone. But that way your mind can really focus on the activity at hand and you're not feeling so overwhelmed because that's what happens when we multitask. We think we are able to do it because we're doing it, but really underneath what's happening is we're starting to get overwhelmed and stressed because we're having to, it takes like 30 minutes, I think is what they say, to get back into focus of whatever, if you get distracted. And so if you do things uh, that are similar, you're helping your brain out a lot. And it reduces, you're able to accomplish that task, I think, sooner and more efficiently because you're already doing it and you're focused on the task. So batching versus multitasking, a really interesting time management principle. I don't remember where I learned that from, but it's been really helpful for me when I'm creating my schedules. For me, when I'm creating my schedules. Another thing is, so what is time blocking? Time blocking is when you set time aside to do specific tasks. So from 8 to 9, 20-minute workout. From 9 to 10, a shower, getting myself ready. And from 10 to 11, my workshop today. And so time blocking these things so that I can see what I'm doing and making sure that I'm doing it in that designated time space. So that way I'm not thinking like or having the idea that I need to shower, but not knowing where to put it in my schedule or just inserting when I can. If I designate time to do it, I'm probably going to be more than likely to do it. So if I want to get a workout in, I need to put that on my schedule in a time block. And then that's 5, 10, 15, 20-minute rule. I love this rule. You've probably heard it before, but I have a number. It's just a number 15. I put it on in my homeschool room and it just reminds me, hey, sometimes a task only takes 5, 10, or 15 minutes. And if I have 15 minutes, then let me work on this task. Um, it's a really great principle. It's the whole like, how do you eat at an elephant one bite at a time. And so, for example, I have a basement right now that's exploded and it's probably going to need like 3 to 4 hours to organize, but I don't have 3 to 4 hours in a day, but I do have 15 minutes. And so if I can start eating away in these small portions of the basement over the week, I'd probably be able to accomplish it and not lag on laundry or other responsibilities I have in the home. So that 15-minute rule is really helpful. Even 5 minutes, you can do a lot in 5 minutes. And so what I use is I have a kindergarten timer and it's as red at the time that you have and it clicks down and the red disappears. Such a great visual, be like, okay, you have 5 minutes. And what it also does, it helps you stay focused on your task at hand. So when you time block and when you use the 5, 10, 15, 20-minute rule, you are focused because you know you only have 20 minutes to accomplish this task. And you will be surprised how much clothes you can fold in 20 minutes or in 3 minutes because I've done that. So that is a really great tool to use or a manage principle to apply in your planning. And then create routines. And so this is our general routine for our day when it's a school year. We have an early morning routine that the kids know that hygiene, quiet time, workout, protein shake, shower, make bed, look at schedule. So this is my routine in the morning. And it's really good for me because I'm not going to wake and be like, hey, what am I going to do today? No, it's like, this is what I'm going to do today. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to use any brain power. This is what I have to do today. It knocks out time, or allows me to get into the word and really prepare my head and my heart for the day. My body's like rejuvenated. I've got adrenaline pumping because I just worked out. I feel strong, and then I've replenished all of the sweat and workout with my protein shake, and so I'm also nourished for the day. So my body, my mind, my heart is nourished for the day because I have a routine. And then mid morning, my kids know what's expected of them. They have morning responsibilities. That's their routine. I don't even have to list them out. It's have you done your morning responsibilities? Um, Wake up, brush your teeth, fix your bed, change your clothes, brush your hair, make your breakfast. and then mid-morning responsibilities for them. We'll normally it's a workout, lessons, and then we'll clean up a little bit before we transition to lunch, and and so on. And so they know what's expected of them because we've created these routines. Now they're not always very specific, like I don't always have it listed out, but they know in the afternoon we're gonna have there's chores. It's every afternoon. It's called a blessing hour. I learned that from another homeschool mom. It's our way to bless each other with how we take care of our home environment. And then they have zones and we all prep for dinner. And so there's no room for questioning, Mom, what are we going to do today? It's they know what's expected. So I don't have to spend time answering their questions. And there's no whining or crying because they know what's expected of them. And we've done this over and over and over again. And so these routines are so important in a home because everyone functions well when they know what's expected of them. So create routines. That's a very, very important time management principle. And then I really like the essentialism mentality from Greg McGowan. It's his book, Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. Here are, this is a page from his book and the type of uh, thinking an essentialist would have versus a non-essentialist. So for example, I'm all things to all people is what a non-essentialist would think, but an essentialist would say, no, less but better. And a non-essentialist would say, I have to do these things. So I have to be a stay-at-home mom versus no, I choose to be a stay-at-home mom. It really having uh, that type of language in your mind is really helpful in how you're approaching tasks and responsibilities and all these different areas of your life because now the language is uh, is allowing you to have the control of your life. Like the responsibility is on you. Like no one's telling you to be a stay-at-home mom. You're choosing to. And I do. I love it. I love being a stay-at-home mom. No one's telling you that you have to work out. Like you're choosing to work out. Or, so I like his approach to this because it really changes the way I view my role in my time management. Like it's me. I'm deciding the areas that I want to invest in and what I don't want to invest in. So I'm not going to read everything here, but it's really he has he articulates this so well and really has shifted the way I view my role, my responsibilities in everything. So I highly, highly suggest this book. I recommend it to everybody. I've done, I think, 3 book clubs with other homeschool moms because I think it just has so many great principles, and I'm rereading again next year with my co-op moms. So please get this book if you haven't, or listen to it. I like to highlight and write and scan and put his words all over because it's just really great reminders. Another time management principle is allow for margin. It's a 20/80 rule. So all it means is don't plan 100% of your day, plan 80% of it. So, for example, if you know you have 1 hour to get out the door, plan for 20% of that time to have some type of disruption. I could just anticipate that a child will have a meltdown or is losing something or needs help. And that way, having that margin allows for you to be proactive versus reactive because you've planned for that. So for us, whenever we're trying to get out the door, if we have like our homeschool co-op, it's easy me if I wasn't being proactive, I'd say, okay, well, we have to get there at 8, so let's just all wake up at 7 and and eat breakfast and all these things. And if I don't allow for margin, that maybe somebody's just a little bit slow or um, uh, someone's going to forget something or someone throws up. Like if I don't allow for extra time, then we may not get to co-op by 8 o'clock. And so what do? 6:30. Sorry, guys, we're going to wake up at 6:30 and try to get ready and out the door. But what does that mean? Well, that means I have to go to bed. We have to all go to bed at a decent time the night before. So the 20/80 rule is just really helpful to allow you to be proactive versus reactive and not try to rush to get to the next thing because you can um, deal with whatever situation that has just come up um, without feeling the pressure or the overwhelm of having to get to the next thing because you've allowed for margin. And same thing with homeschooling lessons, right? Like recognize that you may not get all 30 minutes of that lesson in with you just talking and having conversation. Assume that maybe a baby will cry if you have children, babies like me, or other disruptions to happen. So the last thing, and I think the most important one, that's why I actually put it at the end, so that if you're going to remember anything, I hope it's this, is honoring the Sabbath. So we're going to go a little bit deeper than I did with the other ones with this, because I think it's so important, and I've seen the fruit of it in our own home once we obeyed. That's essentially what it was, is we weren't obeying because we felt that we can control everything in our life. But man, God is good and his Bible is true and it's good for us. So just listen to the wisdom there. So let's talk a little bit about the Sabbath. So Sabbath as a gift from God. Exodus 20 verse 8 through 10 says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God." So how do we honor the Sabbath? And why? Why should we do all these things? Well, why should we set one set a day? Does it matter what we do? Yes, it does matter. And here's why. This is why honoring the Sabbath is so crucial. It declares God is our creator. He models it for us for a purpose, not because he was tired on the seventh day, but because he wanted to model rest for us, because he knew in our small, finite minds and our evil desires to strive for the win that we, we were probably gonna be burnt out, or we are, like, if we continued to use every day as a work day. Imagine a car running and never having time to stop and get gas. It would just collapse, right? And same for us. And by honoring the Sabbath, we're declaring God created us and he created us as finite beings. And we need to trust that as our creator, he commands us to do certain things and he commands us to rest. It teaches us to trust in God's provision also, that out of the whole work week, he said, of course, we should be thinking about him, praying and reading our scripture all throughout the week. But Sunday allows us to really um, pause for the day, after we gather with the saints and, through church, pause and continue to see God's provision in our lives, his blessings. This time to rest allows us to reset our minds after a busy week of distractions. It is such a great way to reflect on God's goodness in our lives and trust that he will continue to provide everything that we need throughout the week. But we need time to do that. We need time to pause from everything in order to do these, to meditate on his word and be reminded of his word through, our pastors and being around other saints, and then coming home and prioritizing time in the word, even if we haven't done it all week. But honoring the Sabbath teaches us to trust in him and point us back to him when we can rest and get our minds back to to seeing his hand in our lives. And it protects us from making work as an idol. And I think that's what, like, most of us are doing, is that we feel like we need to be more efficient. We need to get so many things done so that, we can get ahead. But that's when I think work uh, becomes an idol, because work is good. We've been created to work. But if that's the only thing that we're focused on, then uh, it's dangerous, because then it could lead to greed, vanity, and that's not what God wants for us. And so by stopping and resetting ourselves on Sunday for Christians, um, it protects us and allows and reminds us when we read his word, um, uh, that okay, I'm starting to prioritize X, Y, and Z. Let me reel it back in and just reset my priorities. And so resting protects us from making work as an idol, and it gives us, we need it like literally, physically, we need it to give our bodies mind and soul and time to rest and reset. We just need it. Our minds are constantly running, and it's no thanks to, excuse me, cell phones. That doesn't help. And so we try to have a no technology rule. Sometimes we'll do like a family movie, but super like something that's calming and redeeming. But our goal is like games, reading stories, sitting on the hammock, being outside, even going on a nature walk, or just anything that requires napping, like really just time to rest, but also reconnect as a family. So this day, and my kids love it because we work really hard during the week. There was a season where we were doing a lot of projects around the house. We were renovating, but then when Sunday came, it was like axes, literal axes down, no hammers, nothing. Like we are, and of course, like dishes are there, but I do everything I can so that we are minimal. We are very minimal in even what we're cleaning and putting away. So sometimes we use a lot of times we use paper plates. We just toss it so that no dishes are being done on Sunday unnecessarily. So just this is such a gift, and if more people embrace a day of rest, I think many of us would not be so stressed out, so overwhelmed, and and we'd be more connected with our family because we are reminded on this one day when we can slow down that, oh, I've haven't spent time with my daughter or my son. And so honor the Sabbath, rest your body and mind. We all need it. And it points us to Christ and our eternal rest. It's easy to be distracted throughout the week because there are things that are pressing, but there's nothing more pressing than ensuring that our hearts and our minds are uh, always focused on Christ, because that focus is what that vision of Christ is going to give us the peace that we need when we are in a situation of at work, maybe that is a challenge, like you have Christ's peace. Um, God's peace, and or if you're dealing with um, uh, a busy day just because of homeschooling and all other things that you know that you're doing the good work, or the good work that God has given you, and so your attitude is different, your posture is different, and so it's important that we remember to spend time in the Word daily, but then Sunday allows us a time to really rest in Christ and remind us that He is our eternal rest. Like we will get full, complete rest in Him. And then naturally, because we recognize that we really only have 6 work days of the week, it should motivate us to use our time, our 6 days, use that time well. So if we know Sunday, I don't want to have to plan for meals for the week, then I'm going to do it on Thursday. If I don't want to cook on Sunday, then I'm going to prepare a meal on Saturday. And that's what I normally do. I'll have a charcuterie board ready. So after church, we're not having to go to the store and get a food. Like I have it ready. We'll come home, we'll rest. And, there's flexibility in all this, but ultimately, if we're really honoring the Sabbath, we've set everything up during the week so that on the Sabbath, we can just focus on resting in Him, spending time in Scripture, spending time with our family, and just giving our bodies, mind, and soul a break from the busyness that's going to happen again tomorrow. So give yourself a break, but also honor God and obey His command to honor the Sabbath. Biblical time management doesn't start with a planner, and it starts with worship. And we've talked about that before, that it is an act of worship. Everything that we do when we honor the Sabbath, that is an act of worship. When we spend time cleaning our home, that is an act of worship. When we spend time over tea with a friend, praying with them, that is an act of worship. Everything that we do is an act of worship. All right, we're almost there. So the tools, here's some habits and systems that you can implement to really get serious about knowing where you're going to invest your time. But before that, I want to talk about this big fancy word called neuroplasticity. And it's just a fancy word that explains how our brains are actually designed to change. And this is important because in anything, sometimes we get caught up because we say to ourselves, "Oh, I can never do that," or "This is just the way I've been doing this for 50 years." Well, guess what? You have no excuse because God has designed our brains to change. Now, if you've been doing the same thing over and over again for the last 20 years, going to be a little bit harder than if you just did it for the last 1 or 2 years. And so it can change. It's just going to take a little bit more effort. And I bring this concept up because we need to know that it is possible to be able to manage our time well. It is possible to develop new habits so that our homes can run efficiently and so that it's peaceful, it's clean, and it's a place that the whole family and others want to be a part of or be in. And so let me explain a little bit how this works. When we start a new habit or we learn a new skill, we have these neurons in our brain. So let's say you decide, I want to learn how to play basketball. I'm 30 years old. I've never done it. I'm not 30, but I've never done it, but I would love to learn. When you touch a ball, your brain starts light up, right? When you shoot, your neurons make a connection. Synapses is what it's called. You have synapses now, where there's a connection made, and that's how our brain works. When you do something, our brains start to make these connection. Now, if you say, "Okay, I'm going to learn how to now dribble it the right way," well, there's another connection that's being made in regards to your new basketball hobby. And then you have a friend who teaches you if you hold your hand a certain way, if you position yourself here over here, this is the direction the ball's going to go. And so you have another connection being made. And the more you practice and play and strengthen your body, this your basketball skill is starting to get better and better. So when you get on the court after 6 months of practicing, you're not thinking about your posture or anything. Your body just automatically does it. And that's how God designed our brains to be able to learn and and learn and do new skills, including the thoughts that we have. And we can reinforce good thoughts by thinking about good things that are good, true, and beautiful over and over again, or we can think about think about ourselves and be in our feels and constantly be negative about ourselves and now that's the habit. So when someone compliments you because of your habit of being so negative about yourself, you're not going to believe them. And so this is how God designed our brains to function like. And it's great because now we know we can replace bad habits with good habits, bad thoughts with good thoughts. And so in order for us to And so know that with the tools I'm about to give you and the systems that I'm about to share, it is possible for you to be able to implement those things and apply it in your own homes. It's just going to take time. And that's the key here is time and consistency. And so remember that big word, neuroplasticity. God designed our brains to change, and we are able to change anything that we want in our lives. Um, and we just have to start doing it. So, motivation gets us started, repetition rewires the brain, and stewardship keeps us going. I'm going to leave you with this verse, Galatians 6:9. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. So, don't give up. And I really needed to insert that in here so that you can see from a neurological perspective how we are wired to change. We can change and we can change for the good. And praise God, because we're not doing this alone. We have the Holy Spirit to equip us and we have scripture to guide us. And so now we're going to be given more tools to continue to be better at managing our time in our life. All right, so here's some tools. Tool number one, use your second brain. What is that? Um, that's all it is anything that can capture information, knowledge, and tasks in an organized way. Organize is key. You can definitely use notepads, and I still love notepads. I love crossing things out. But if you're not referring back to that notepad, then it's a waste. It's not it's a second brain for a minute, and then it doesn't satisfy its purpose if you don't accomplish the task because you didn't you fail to refer to it. And so use your second brain. Our brains weren't meant to remember so many things, a lot of like menial, like minimal things, like things that we really don't need to be thinking about and burdening our brain with. Um, so, for example, I have several tasks this week that I need to get done. So, I have a notepad and it has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And yesterday, what I did was I sat down and just listed everything that I needed. It's called brain dumping. And then I put them on different days that I can accomplish. So, I allocated my time for each of these things on different days. And so that is an example of a second brain, because now I don't have to think about my to-do list because I've already allocated time for it. I've time blocked these things. And we need to do that. And I don't think, same thing with time, we think our brains can hold so much information, but really we can't. We just can't. It's a finite thing. It's a physical thing. It's not like we can buy extra cloud space, right? Like on computers, you can buy memory space. We just can't. So utilize notebooks. You can use your phone. I have notes here. I have some books that I want to remember to read. I have a section in my notes area for that. Some audio or podcasts that friends recommend me. I don't have time for, but I want to get back to it. I put them in a designated space here or on paper or in a notebook. So create yourself a second brain. So how do we grow our second brain? So practice the habit of writing your thoughts down as soon as they come. So notepads are very, I have them throughout the house, but areas where I sit. And I just, if I have something that I need to accomplish, I just write it down and I put the sticky note in a place that I will refer back to it. So if it's a thought about homeschooling, I'll take the sticky note. If I don't have my homeschool planner with me or notebook, I'll take it off, put it directly in there so I know it's there. If it's a schedule thing or if it's an appointment that I need to cancel, which like right now I need to cancel an ortho appointment because we're going on vacation next week. I forgot about that. I'm going to put this on my computer because I'll make that call right after. So practice the habit of writing your thoughts down as soon as they come. So you're not using the brain space to remember and then stress out because you can't remember. And then that task is not accomplished. Commit to referencing back to those thoughts. So I just said, make sure you know where the sticky note is or where your notepad is and go back to it. What did I say I wanted to do today? And then follow through and commit to accomplishing the task you set for yourself. So that's self-explanatory. So use your second brain, develop a system so that you can accomplish all the tasks that you need to accomplish at a reasonable time frame, and give your brain a chance to soak in other information like poetry, scripture, art. Use the space there now to do something to do something a little bit more beautiful and meaningful. Not remember to cancel your ortho. Um, so that's going to happen. So now on paper, frees me some space, reduces. It's not as heavy in my mind anymore because it's going to get done at a timely manner. Hopefully, I remember. Trident tool number two, Trident calendar planning. I don't know why they call it Trident calendar. I don't, anyways. But this is a really great tool, and this is a habit that I started about whenever I started grad school. But schedule time to plan your year, month, week, and day. So this is really important for my family because we move I think I count in the 16 years of my marriage, we've moved like 8 to 10 times, something like that. If you count like moving from a house to an apartment or something like that, 8 times in the last 16 years. And so there's a lot of unknowns. And if we didn't plan our year out, we wouldn't accomplish the goals that we have been able to accomplish. And so we schedule things from big picture year, and then the month prior, I'll make sure my schedule is have major events on the schedule, and then weekly planning, making sure the week ahead is set, and then daily planning. And so I don't know why they call it Trident. There's 4 areas: year, month, week, and day, but maybe month falls under year. Well, anyways, so that's just all what it is being able to take time to really big picture plan all the way down to the day-to-day things. And this is helpful so you can anticipate for moves for, like for us, like if we're going to move next summer, I'm already going to have on my big calendar, I print out every single month what month I'm going to start purging and decluttering and getting passports ready and all that stuff. So that's really helpful. So I'm not trying to plan all this stuff 3 months before we have to move. Really, really helpful tool. Use like really set time aside to do this. So if you're going to plan your year out, I would go to a coffee shop, have your spouse watch the children. If you're going to try to plan your school year, if it's with your husband, maybe get a sitter or do this in the morning before the kids wake up or in the evening when the kids are maybe watching a movie to just really set goals for yourself for the year and maybe get your schedules lined up with your spouse and make sure, okay, we have designated time for rest throughout the year and family visits and all that. But you have to have no distractions to be able to do this because you need focus so that you don't miss any details in your planning. So here's what we do for annual planning. I use a spreadsheet, but or I'm sorry, you can use a spreadsheet. I've seen people have like all of the months and then the days, and then they like block out different things, and it's a giant sheet. That's a long piece of paper. I just print out each month of the year, and then I block out major holidays. I highlight our co-op weeks and where the breaks rest, and then we try to block out time for rest, a rest week. So in the winter and in the summer, it just depends on what our rhythm has, but we try to rest like every quarter so that we do something as a family, even if it's just staying home, not doing anything, but blocking out time for us is important. Monthly planning. So choose a specific day of the month to plan the upcoming month. So if I'm going to plan for August, then I'm going to use maybe the Thursday, because Thursdays is my planning day, for July to look at my August. And it's just helpful to have a designated day so that you know that it's coming and you're going to have time to plan. You can update any events, appointments, activities happening for the month, and also block out time for rest in that month. So for us, if we have like guests, we had back-to-back guests this summer. I'd really try to block out sometime in the month before we invite more guests to come. Just our family, we haven't seen our family in a long time because we were overseas for a while, and so people have been coming to visit us, and I'm really grateful. But sometimes we need to reset the house and also take a break from the running around before we can host again. So monthly planning, really helpful. And then weekly planning, same thing, choose a specific day of the week to plan. So Thursdays is my day. So I'll plan the following week. I'll update any events, appointments, activities happening for that should say week, I'm sorry. And then block out Sunday and even Saturday for rest. Sometimes you need 2 days of rest. And so plan your week ahead, and that really that specific day, pick one day so that it's a habit, routine, it's in your schedule that you're going to use that time for planning. It's not going to happen if you don't put it on your schedule. And then daily planning. And so, really, if you've already planned your week ahead, the daily planning shouldn't be too complicated, but maybe you have specific tasks that have come up that you need to do for the next day, or you plan it out, spread it out throughout the week. And so, choose a specific time of the day to plan the next day's schedule. So, all it is for me is at the end of our school day and maybe before we get to bed, I just look over real quick what needs to happen for the next day so that I have everything set up so that I can accomplish the next day's task. The daily number ones, health, work, relationships. You know, are you nourishing your body? Are you working out or taking time to walk outside? Work, you know, are you accomplishing your responsibilities in the home or wherever your responsibilities are at? And then relationships, those need to be priority on your daily planning too. And because I have 7 children, I actually my husband and I started to pray for each one specific. I mean, we pray for all of them, but they each have a designated day of the week where we'll pray for them, a specific one that we get lost. Like no one's forgotten. We don't have middle child syndrome happening, multiple middle child syndromes happening. All right, tool number 3, 5, 10, 15-minute rule. So break down projects into smaller tasks, and we've already talked about it. If you have tasks around the house that you're like, when am I going to get to this? Make time for it. Write it in your schedule. Say, I'm going to spend 10 minutes to clear out this drawer. And you'll be surprised. Oh, that this has been hovering in my mind for so long. I could have just done it in 10 minutes. And use a timer. Timers are really helpful in our home. Even working out, I only have 10 minutes or 15 minutes today to work out. Most of my workouts are only 15 to 30 minutes. And let me tell you, you can get a lot of lifting done in 15 minutes. So if it's just not your season to be doing longer workouts or going to the gym um, and joining a class, don't don't not do anything. Spend 10 or 15 minutes, pull up a YouTube video and do something or lift for a little bit and or even stretch. Don't let your body wait till it's the right time for you, the perfect time to work out. Spend some time doing the important things and you'll be surprised. You know, the small things add up to large gains. So 5, 10, 15-minute rule, use it, write it on a piece of paper, put it on your refrigerator to remind you, okay, let me get some of those little tasks in and just get it off my schedule and my to-do list so I can do the important things. Tool number 4. My friend gave me this. I'm forgetting which friend was it, but it was another homeschool mom, and it's the Paprika Meal app. And there's a lot of apps out there now, but this is the one she gave me suggested 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It was like a one-time fee, and it's a really great tool because what it is you have a browser like a normal Google browser. You type in but it's through the app. You type in whatever recipe you're looking for, and then, or you just, go to your normal browser, copy and paste, put in that browser. And then what it does is there's a button at the bottom. So if you have a recipe up, let's say for like muffins, there's a download button. You click the download and it extracts all the recipes, all the groceries, all the instructions. And now you have digital recipe kit. No, a digital recipe book. I don't know what you call them. What do you call them? A recipe book. And so, but it's in your phone. So it's really wonderful because you can even plan your meals. So you just say, okay, what am I going to cook today? And they have a calendar there. Also, you click on there, look up your recipe, put it in there. And then an even cooler tool is that you click on the recipe, click on the groceries, you have the option to click individually what ingredients you need to buy because you might have some of the ingredients, but if there's some that you don't, and then it goes into this grocery basket. And so you can refer to that grocery basket, and now everything that you need is there to meal plan your groceries, the the meal plan itself or the dinner itself. So it's a really great tool. This is, I think, the biggest game changer in my time because I would stress so much about what am I going to cook this week? What am I going to cook tonight? Oh, we don't have the ingredient for that. But now everything is on this app. I'm not going to lie, I haven't used this app in some time, but it's because I use the Walmart delivery app and that has really cool list tools. And I have, now that my girls are cooking, I we try to plan the meals out. I actually have printed a lot of these recipes and put it in a binder. So I just pull it out, put it in there, and then they're in charge of cooking. And we try not to cook more than three or four times a week and do leftovers to just save us more time. And so Paprika Meal app or whatever meal planning tool you can find, get one, use it, and it will save you so much time and effort because it's not just the process of cooking the meal, as you heard, but also the buying of the groceries and all that. So, really great tool. Tool 5, 6, 7, and 8. The Essentialism book. I highly recommend it. If you're going to pick any of these, get that book. The Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's a really good book if you need like real guidance on how to set yourself up, set your home, set your situation up so that you can implement that habit. Here's an example. I have a lot of books I need to read for the school year for my kids. I need to pre-read them. I'm trying to pre-read the books that my independent readers are reading. That way, I can still have conversations with them and enjoy some fun books for my mind as well. But more importantly, I know what they're reading, and we can have conversations about it. And so in order for me to do that, I need time. And I realized a lot of my time was being sucked into all the social media, trying to research all kinds of things on my phone. And so what I did yesterday was I set up my corner. I have a corner in my homeschool room as a chair I got rid of this giant lamp. I got a new lamp. I have a little side table that's there. And then I stacked all the books that I needed to read right there. And then I told my children, remind me, this is a no phone zone. So my one daughter wrote on the whiteboard, no phone zone. And it's been great because I can't bring my phone in there. And I'm also still breastfeeding my daughter. And so when I'm breastfeeding, instead of grabbing my phone first thing, it's not there. I grab any of the books and all of my notebooks are there so I can write my notes in for each book. And now I'm creating the habit of reading because I've set myself up for success. And that's what Atomic Habits it has to offer. And then this is a very popular, and it's an older book, but The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families by Stephen Covey. It's a really good book. Highly recommend that too, so that you as a family can begin to develop habits together. Um, and then I'm going to throw my resource in there. There's the free annual family goal and habit planning guide I share with all of my families. It's the way that my husband uh, goal our annual plan is we goal plan and we look at the different areas. So if you can remember the dimensions of wellness circle, we look at all those areas in our life and we write specific goals for individually and then together as a family. And now my kids are some involved in that as in a different way with our homeschooling. But planning together as a family is so important because if you set goals for yourself, you're setting the direction you want to take your family. And so the path is you're going to have a specific path that you're going to have to create to get to that goal. If you have no goals, you're just going to be meandering just like this. And so in order for you to manage your time well, set some goals. And so I have that, and there's just this little simple download, and I'll add it in the link in the whatever the description box, I guess. And it's just a PDF, and you can download it. And then the habit planning guide that's in there, everything that we do is a form is a habit or a bad habit, good habit. And so I have an example of different areas of good habits. And then there's a sheet there that we try to do like 1 or 2 habits a month for little kids, 1 habit a month to work on. So for example, it's we struggle with our shoes always being everywhere. So for the month of July, and it's there, you'll have I have it listed it by month for that. So say for August, your habit for the month is putting the shoes back in the bin. And then once you're done with that, pick a different habit to implement. Um, you can do a lot of these things like at the same time, but that's in that planning guide too. So it's free resource, share it. It's hopefully it helps you. It's helped our family in a lot of ways, and I think it's helped a lot of the homeschool moms that I've shared this with. So this last tool that I'm going to share with you, I am very hesitant to share because there are drawbacks to it if we're not using it properly, because it is a very new tool and people are jumping at the bit to use it for productivity's sake and efficiency's sake, but not recognizing the potential dangers. So I'm just going to share it. Technology, specifically assisted intelligence, so AI. And I put AI only after you've analyzed the situation and need. So let me explain what I mean by that. I run a co-op, a free homeschool co-op. All of the things that I do are free. So I don't make money trying right now. I don't really make any money hosting all the things that I do for the community, for my mom friends, all of that. So what does that mean? In order for me to be able to do that, I need an assistant. And because I've spent years doing event planning, creating logistics, wrestling with these ideas, and wrestling with the schedules and all that, I have the prior knowledge to use AI in a way that will help me and satisfy my need of an executive assistant, let's just say. So it's a free executive assistant is how I use it. And so, in order for us to really use AI well, you have to have that prior knowledge. And so, I have the prior knowledge. So now I'm using it because it's helping me. For example, I don't have the time to spend trying to come up with the wording for, let's say, for example, the description for a Facebook event. I just don't. I don't want to spend my time. I want to spend my time figuring out how to create curriculum for our co-op, and so that's what I use that for. So I'll have, if I'm trying to plan out our school year and logistics of things, I use it to help me create the bones of a plan, so that I can fill it up and really beef it up. So it really just gives me the bones and I play with it, with my ideas. And so I've learned how to balance AI in a way that still requires me to use my brain, because what is happening right now, and you're I'm this is the I'm gonna now go on a little bit of a tangent. What's happening now with our students and our children in this generation is they have missed many opportunities to grow those connections that we talked about in their minds. So instead of, for example, opening up a book, reading these new ideas, wrestling with these ideas in their mind for themselves, making those connections in their brain, feeding their mind, because we need not only ideas but knowledge to consume, but we need to use time to make these connections for ourselves. A lot of kids are missing those opportunities because instead of reading a book, they'll look up an answer for themselves instead of spending the time to research an answer. They're going to ask Google or Chat GPT, hey, I need an answer for this, create this for me, and then that's it. So it makes so much sense to why so many students are struggling with learning, with reading, with attention, with focus, with being able to even be self learners. I've talked to a lot of teachers because I think they've missed those opportunities, um, to really grow their minds. Because wrestling with ideas is a critical to feeding our minds. Me spending time learning how to create a logistical plan without AI has helped me helps me know what details I may miss. It has helped me look at things from different perspectives. So I've gave me just time wrestling with the ideas has helped me grow my brain and my understanding and my capacity and my just my ability to create these events and like I create communities everywhere I go rather quickly because I've learned how to do it from scratch, and now I'm using AI to assist me, but I had that prior knowledge, I had that time to learn how to do that, and our kids are just not having that time. um, when they're curious about an idea, instead of trying to maybe experiment with the thought or experiment with the idea, they just jump and are given the answer, and that is becomes so detrimental to learning. Same thing, I can use all kinds of examples, and so I share tool number 9, and I'm sorry if I've gone on a tangent. I share it loosely because I don't want you to miss the opportunity to be able to really sit down and analyze your life, um, uh, from your perspective. Um, you need that time before you jump in and utilize um, things like ChatGPT. So I'm going to use one more example. We move every year, so it's called PCSing, permanent change of station, and that requires a lot of layers and a lot of logistical planning for families. I have a lot of kids, so there's not only packing our clothes, but making sure we have everything set up so that the other end, everything's set. And so I've spent years trying to create these plans on paper, but now I utilize Chat GPT to help me create an efficient schedule within 2 minutes. I'm able to do that because I have the prior knowledge. I know all the details because unless you don't know any, you're not going to know how to prompt it the right way. Um, I can say, I have this event this week. I need to pack this. I have, this, and this. Can you create me an efficient game plan so that from Monday to Friday, and then I add other details like I need this to happen between 8 to 5. I have children, and then I add all the other details to it. I don't add the names. It can create me a game plan and schedule for the week so that I'm efficient in accomplishing all those tasks. So that's how powerful AI could be. And it can be a very useful tool, especially for someone like me who, again, I can't pay an executive assistant to plan all these other details or create posts for me. I have to do those myself. So I do utilize chat to help, those little tasks that would otherwise assign somebody else. So so technology is not bad. It only is bad if we rely on it and not recognize, um, I don't want to say the dangers, but the drawbacks of its use. So my last example, cars. It's Cars have been such a helpful tool for our society. Like imagine ambulances being able to, if someone gets injured, they can immediately drive them at a reasonable time and get them to the hospital so that their lives can be saved. Cars can be detrimental and has been to people because now nobody's walking. Walking was just the form of transportation before, and that's how people didn't have to work out because they were walking. But now we have to make time for walking. Um, it becomes dangerous if we say, I'm just going to use a car. I'm going to use those, what do you call those? Like they're two wheelie thingies, like, you see scooters or whatever. People are, instead of walking around, you see them just driving. Like your muscles, your leg muscles are gonna miss the opportunity to grow. They're gonna start to atrophy, and so that's the same with technology and AI. It is a useful tool if it's put in its right place, if it's used in the right way. And so before I use AI for myself, because it's just part of our society, you can either use it to your advantage, or but you can also use it um, to become lazy, and we don't want to become lazy. And so this is a question that I ask myself um, before I use any type of AI technology. Will using technology take away an important opportunity for me to grow my mind and body? So just let that soak in. Minute, not a minute. We haven't time for that. But that's a good question to ask. If I choose to use this thing, could be, I don't know, computer, could be, I don't know, cell phone. Will it take away an opportunity for you to be able to learn something, for your mind to feed on something, for your body to experience something? And if it is going to take that opportunity, maybe don't jump and use the technology until you've spent the time feeding your mind and body. And if you still need the assistance, then use the technology. It's going to be a balance. It's the world we live in, but you don't even have to use it. That's the reality. If you are okay and with the simplicity of life, if you're managing your home, if you're loving your husband well, if you're teaching your kids, you don't necessarily need AI in any of those areas. We've lived without AI for forever. Only the last 5 years has it really played a role in our society. But it's important for you to know because of your children, because then they're going to get out of your homes. And if they don't know how to manage things well, or if you haven't set them up with prior knowledge about AI, not necessarily using it, but being aware of it, then they may be lost and get caught up also. So there is a balance. So like my kids, they don't know anything about AI. I mean, they know about it, but they don't use it in their schooling. That even Google, we use a lot of books still, old school books for them to do research because their minds need that. In order for them to be able, in order for me to use AI now, it's because I grew up learning how to research through books, going through the library, even going through Google and all the articles there. And so they need to do that for themselves before jumping in and relying on this new technology. So and I know I went on a tangent, but this is just such an important topic right now. There's so many implications. There's drawbacks to it if you're not using it well, including your children. It's a new technology. Same thing that's happened with cell phones. We didn't know what dangers or implications it would be to give our children these phones, and now we do. We recognize that technology is very detrimental to our kids if you expose them too early to it and have them rely on it too much. So, all right. All right, so here are some more time management habits, and they're simple ones, but really practical ones that you can do today to really get started on managing your time well. Here are some habits. Have a place for everything. If you want to find your keys, you know it's going to be in the key drawer. Or it should be, right? If you, not unless you're like me, then you put it up on your dresser because it was in your pocket. But no, when you come in the door, open your drawer, put the key in, close it. You know it's there, so you're not going to spend 20 minutes trying to find it. When your kids are coming in the door with their backpacks, have hooks, or make them put them directly in the room and have a hook there. That way, it's not scattered everywhere. You're not yelling at them because they have forgot to put their backpacks away. Let create spaces for everything. Designate a place for every object in your home so that you can function well and the house stays clean and maintained and will reduce cleanup time. I promise you. Put everything back in its place. Remind your children, hey, once you're done playing with the toys, put everything back, lid in the closet, and then you can move on to the next thing. That's really important. Same thing with cooking for my girls. I'm trying to teach them, hey, when you're done with the flour, put it directly back in the in the pantry so that you have a clean surface area and you're cleaning as you go. So that's a very useful tool. And don't just leave stuff on the staircase. Put it directly back in the bedroom. That's the one thing we're working on. Just walk up those extra 10 steps and just put it directly in your room so you don't have to deal with it later on. Like I was saying, organize as you go. If you see something that's out of place, this is something we're trying to remind our kids again. We have littles again, so trying to teach them the habit. Like pick up your toy. If you see a piece of garbage that clearly does not belong in the hallway, pick it up, throw it in the garbage. Like just organize as you go. I have a basket, multiple baskets, but I have a basket. If I don't want to spend time walking up and down the stairs putting toys away, I'll just put everything in this basket, and then the kids are the ones in charge of sorting and putting them back to where they belong. And so that saves us a lot of time also. And let me tell you, I have, again, 7 children, but we are able to keep a clean home and we host a lot. So it is possible to have as many kids as I do and be able to manage a clean home that you yourself can enjoy. Because I want to be able to go down to the living room and enjoy sitting there and not be so stressed because there's 30 million toys everywhere. Um, Organize as you go. It's really helpful. It's a simple habit, but it is hard to implement if you don't start. So you need to start today. Delegate tasks. So there are just some tasks that different seasons you may need assistance on. So, for example, I've never done this, but I have a friend who does this. There was a season where I had a friend who was sick, and so she hired somebody to come and clean up her house once a week, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to get outside help. For me, I don't want to do that because I want to teach my kids and give them the opportunity to clean. And so I've started to task each one with, depending on the age, they have specific responsibilities. And so by the time they're about 6, they should be able to know how to, even 4, actually, my 4-year-old does this, unload the dishes. Like I don't need to be doing that. Or even like folding towels. I'm a little bit of OCD with my towels because I like them to look pretty in my closet, but at the same time, I don't have that luxury right now to like fold it neatly. I am teaching the kids how to fold it, but it's not always perfect, and I need to be okay with like it's folded and done. Let's put it in. If it can fit in there, it's fine. So delegate some of these tasks that maybe sometimes you might be spending too much time on with your children, or maybe even asking your husband for help in some of these areas. Delegate. Use your your leadership skills. Break big projects into small tasks. We've said it again, the 5, 10, 15-minute rule. It's the only way we can really get anything done because there's so many other layers in our home, and we can't spend every day spending 3 hours in one area of the house trying to get it all fixed in one day. Just it can't it may not happen unless your kids are out of the house for the week and your parents are watching them, then maybe, but generally we still have life to live. And so if you want to accomplish some of these big projects, breaking them into small tasks is going to be the solution for that. I created this note card for one of my women events in Japan, and it's a really great reminder. The things that may seem difficult are just a series of easy tasks. All I need to do is take the first step. Action precedes motivation. There is this misunderstanding of motivation. We feel like we can only uh, really get something started if we're motivated to do it. Like you hear, I don't feel motivated to do it. Our feelings are deceitful, and the Bible says that, our feelings can really point us in the wrong direction. Because sometimes I don't feel like cleaning up, but I have to clean up. And and I really like this reminder that when we just start doing something, the task will eventually get done. We just have to start. And really, it is the first step that is the hardest. And that ultimately, that task itself is actually not as big of a deal as I think about it, because they're just a series of little tasks. And that's why it may seem difficult. And the perfect example is I have a friend back in Japan, and she was a bar instructor. It's like Pilates type bar, and every day she had to wake up because the class was at 5, and so that means she had to wake up around 4:30 to get out the door to come teach this class. And I asked her, like, how do you get motivated to get up? She's like, I open my eyes and say, "Oh, that's a win." I think she was the one who told me. I think it was her. And then I put my leg over the bed. Check, that's another win. And so the task of waking up isn't as hard when you break it down in that way. Walking to the bathroom, check, win. Turning on the light, check, win. So just a little bit, little task that just seems so big, when you're just looking at it, like, I have to wake up at 4, but no, it's like I just have to open my eyes. There you go. And then I just have to get to the bathroom, and then I just have to wash my face. And so just a series of tasks. And so I share this really interesting thought with you, this idea that action precedes motivation, because the task of managing our home, the task of managing our time can seem overwhelming. But as you've seen, hopefully, that it's possible to be able to manage our home. It's just going to require a little bit of effort on our part of knowing what those areas are in my home that I have to manage. And then once you know what those areas are, now how can I take care of each of these areas? And the more time you spend doing this, the more time you spend analyzing your situation, over time it's something you don't even have to think about. It just becomes easy. It becomes easier and more natural for you to solve whatever, invest the time in those areas that you really need to invest your time on. So for me, when we move, I don't stress out about that anymore. uh, Sometimes we've moved overseas, we've moved cross country, we've moved so many times, but because I recognize that if I plan ahead, and if I create a schedule, and if I purge as much stuff as I can so we're not having to deal with all that, if I create this, because I've created this plan over and over again, you realize when you take a step back, like, oh, we moved, everything worked out. I was stressing out about this move, and then I did all these tasks in between, and we moved. And so I think reframing situations and looking at as little easy tasks can help you take that first big step. And same with our time management and managing our home and our lives and our fitness and our relationships. It may seem really daunting of a task, but really it's just these small things, small changes, small steps to accomplish that goal. So here's my task for you. Track your day and analyze your use of time. And then find one struggle area and improve on it. It could be I really struggle with social media. And so what could you do? I'm going to take off the apps off my phone. And then if I really need to check something, only use my computer. So find one struggle area and try to solve that problem. And then move on to the next one. Um, and then find accountability. Have a friend, a sister, a brother, a husband, just somebody that will encourage you and maybe be on this journey of trying to manage their times well. Um, it's just helpful to be able to celebrate with someone, to ask someone for prayer. I have several friends that I actually have one specifically who she's been my friend Angela has been very encouraging in 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 my life in homeschooling and with so we commiserate together, but then we after we cry about things, we okay, let's what's our game plan? And so it's helpful to have a friend who can will celebrate with you, will not judge you, who will encourage you versus just stay in the trenches and then not go anywhere. And so having someone who can be helpful and encouraging is key to being able to accomplish this, what seems like big task. So track your day, find one juggle error, find accountability, and then and then and then live life. You don't get caught up in and being frozen because you haven't perfectly planned out your week or your day. Just do the best you can and know that you are going to be equipped with the Holy Spirit to give you wisdom if you're spending enough time in His Word, and then having friends to encourage you and you'll make mistakes like I do. I mean, I'm like I had to it took this class and me reteaching it to get me back into a good rhythm of managing my time well. And so I hope that encourages you and that you're not alone. Even the best of productivity people struggle. So just know, don't compare, don't just look at where you're at and try to improve the one thing that you can today. And that at the end of it all, our hope, going back to the purpose of all that we do, is to uh, glorify God and enjoy Him forever. At the end of the day, if you know you're doing your best, the words that we hope that we will hear because we have steward our time well, and we've done the best with the gifts and talents that God has given us, that Jesus would say to us, "Well done, good and faithful servant." So I hope this workshop has encouraged you, has helped you. If you have any questions, please email me. I have a couple resources down in the description, and begin to steward your life well. Thanks.